up, guys? It's Richie here with Statifying Football. This is your Week 11 college football, the midday 3:30 games. A whole bunch of big ones with national implications on them and division conference races, etc. Starting with the big one, LSU. Number 1 LSU at number 2 Alabama. LSU's coming off a bye. They beat Auburn last game 23-20. Joe Burrow, Heisman candidate, 321 yards passing, a touchdown passing, and 1 rushing. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 136 rushing and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 8 catches, 123. They put up 508 yards, but they turned it over twice. They can't do that against Alabama. They did have 3 sacks. Bama's coming off a bye, too. The last game was a 48-7 win over Arkansas. Tua Tagovailoa was not in that game. Mac Jones played. He played well, 235 passing, 3 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy, 7 catches, 103, 2 touchdowns. Defense forced 4 turnovers and had a pick 6 in that game. I expect this to be a high-scoring game. Tua should be back. I think all the claims about his injuries are bullshit. I think he's fine. But LSU, both defenses are good. They're like in the top 20 or whatever, but they're not as good as in years past. Alabama's used to being like number 1, right? They're like in the top 20, I think. They're still solid, still very good. I think it's going to be high-scoring. I'm going to go LSU to win this one. It's in Alabama. I think LSU's offense, like both offenses are good. I just think in the past, LSU's defense was usually good enough to slow down Alabama a little bit. It's just their offense couldn't do a damn thing, and Alabama then just kept scoring. I think LSU keeps up, and I think LSU actually wins. This will be an awesome, awesome game. All right, going into UConn, taking on ranked Cincinnati Bearcats. UConn, they lost 56-10 Navy. Jack Zerkiotis, 16-34, 205 passing, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, not great. Kevin Mensah, really, really good running back, one of the best in the American Athletic Conference. He ran for 107. They did turn over 3 times. Cincinnati almost was upset by East Carolina. They beat them with the last-second field goal, 46-43. They were down 12 going into the 4th quarter. Desmond Ridder wasn't great passing, 12 of 24, 161, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but he did run for 121 yards. Michael Warren ran for 141 and 3 touchdowns. Defense had 2 turnovers. They had a pick 6, which is what pretty much like kind of not sealed it, but it gave them a lead late. However, they did give up 638 yards of offense. I don't think that'll happen this game. UConn is really bad, but I got Cincinnati pretty easily in this one. All right, big one in the Big 12. Kansas State, this is a surprising ranked team in this one against Texas. Texas is 5-3 and not ranked. Kansas State, they beat rival Kansas 38-10. Thompson ran for 127, 3 touchdowns plus 129 passing. They ran for 342 yards. Defense had 4 sacks, 2 turnovers in that game. Texas coming off a bye. The last game was they were upset by TCU 37-27. Sam Ehlinger 22 of 48, not good. 321 is okay. 2 passing touchdowns, but he had 4 interceptions in that loss. Devin Duvernay 8 catches, 173 and a touchdown. Colin Johnson 7 catches, 101. They put up 447 yards, but they turned over those 4 times. Our defense forced 2 turnovers. I think Texas bounces back here. I really like Kansas State. Yes, they beat Oklahoma. I don't think Lightning will strike twice. I think Ehlinger will clean up his interceptions. I think Texas will win that one. All right, huge game in the ACC. Ranked Wake Forest 7-1, taking on Virginia Tech 5-3, who almost had the upset on Notre Dame last week. Wake Forest killed North Carolina State 44-10. Jamie Newman, one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. 287 passing, 3 touchdowns, plus 2 rushing touchdowns. Defense forced 3 turnovers. Whereas Virginia Tech, like I said, they lost to Notre Dame only by a point. They lost 21-20, and Notre Dame scored with like 30 seconds left to get that lead. The quarterback, Quincy Patterson, not great. 9 of 28, 139 passing, 1 touchdown, a pick, plus 77 rushing. They did turn over twice, which is big in a 1-point loss. Their defense forced 3 turnovers and had a big fumble return for a touchdown in that game. Virginia Tech, I think they're clearly, they played really well against Virginia Tech, and they kind of turned around a little bit. Their defense isn't quite back to what they used to be, but they're getting better. Their quarterback situation is weird. Like, they had 3 pretty good quarterbacks, but they're all kind of injured, and they can play decently at times. I don't know. Wake Forest has been looking strong all year. Their offense has been awesome. Jamie Newman has been great. Even their one loss, they lost 62-59. I think they keep that going. This will be a really interesting game, really good game. But I think Wake Forest should win. All right, Georgia Southern and Troy Trojans. Georgia Southern Eagles coming off a big upset win over ranked Appalachian State. Georgia Southern is 5-3, trying to get bowl eligible, trying to get into the Sun Belt Championship game. They beat App State 24-21. They ran for 335 yards. That triple option had it going. Wesley Kennedy ran for 145 and 2 touchdowns. Troy was in an awesome game against Coastal Carolina. They lost by a point. Coastal Carolina scored late to win 36-35. Caleb Barker, though threw for 385 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kalen Geiger, 12 catches, 145 yards and a touchdown. They did put up 500 yards. I expect this a bit of a shootout. Georgia Southern triple option is good. They'll hold the ball for a while, but Troy can score. I'm going to go Georgia Southern, though, in this. They think this will be pretty close, but I'll go Georgia Southern. They got their running game going pretty well. All right, Louisville and Miami, huge game. Both teams have 5 wins, so whoever wins this will be bowl eligible. Louisville, they're coming off a bye. The last game was a big win over Virginia, 28-21. Michael Cunningham, 126 passing, plus 1 passing touchdown, plus he ran for 97 yards and a touchdown. Javian Hawkins ran for 136 and 2 touchdowns. Tutu Atwell, 6 catches, 122 and a touchdown. They ran for 227. Defense had 4 sacks and forced 2 turnovers. Where Miami killed Florida State, 27-10. Jaron Williams, great game, 313 passing, 2 touchdowns. They only ran for 40 yards. They should get that going against Louisville. Their defense had 9 sacks against Florida State. 9. And Greg Rousseau had 4 of them. They forced 2 turnovers. I think this will be close. I'm a Florida guy. I'm going to root for Miami, but I think Louisville might be the better overall team now. Miami, they've been pretty inconsistent. Their defenses look strong here, but sometimes their offense looks okay. Sometimes it doesn't. And Louisville has been overall a little more consistent on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to go Louisville there. All right, USC and Arizona State, another big one in the Pac-12, especially the Pac-12 South. You both have 5 wins, both trying to get bowl eligible. USC's coming off a 56-24 loss to Oregon. They were killed. Keaton Slovis, 264 passing, 3 touchdowns, but he threw 3 interceptions, which cost them in the game. Where Arizona State, they're coming off a bye. Their last game was a 42-32 loss to UCLA, but they were actually manhandled. They were down 42-10 in the 4th quarter. They scored a bunch of points then to make it look more respectable, but they were killed. Jaden Daniels had good numbers. The quarterback for Arizona State, 267 passing, 3 touchdowns, plus 67 rushing and a touchdown. Frank Darby, 6 catches, 110, 2 touchdowns. Defense did have 3 sacks, and they caused 4 turnovers. And USC's got a strong passing game. Slovis, now he hasn't really turned over too much all year. He did have the 3 picks against Oregon. So Arizona State, they got to get Benjamin going. They got to get the turnovers going. I think this will be a pretty interesting game. It could be a shootout. I'm going to go USC though. Other than the Oregon game, I really think USC's been playing pretty well, especially offensively, and I think they will pull that one. All right, big game in the CUSA. UAB 6-2 against Southern Miss, who's 5-3. Both are 3-1 in the CUSA. Southern Miss trying to become bowl eligible. UAB is coming off a 30-7 loss to Tennessee. Tyler Johnson, not great, 136 passing. He threw 3 interceptions. They had 4 turnovers in that game. Whereas Southern Miss, they had a bye. The last game was a 20-6 win over Rice. Defense had 8 sacks in the game. Jock Turner had 3.5 of them, and they only allowed 139 yards of Rice. Rice has played everybody strongly this year. Rice only lost 21-13 to Baylor. Rice only lost 20-6 last week to, I think it was Louisiana Tech. Or I can't remember, but they've been playing everybody strong. I throw that out the window. I really like UAB. UAB, Bill Clark is an awesome coach. Man, but Southern Miss, their offense is Jack Abraham's a really, really good quarterback. I'll go UAB here. I think UAB is a solid overall team. I'll throw the Tennessee game out the window. They turn it over much. They normally don't do that. They usually have one of the best defenses in the country. And their offense is usually pretty solid enough. I'll go UAB there. All right, pretty big game in the Big Ten. Illinois and Michigan State. Illinois is 5-4. Michigan State is 4-4. Illinois trying to get bowl eligible. Michigan State trying to keep their bowl eligibility alive. Illinois beat Rutgers 38-10. Their offense was fine. Brandon Peters, 120 passing and a touchdown. They ran for 204, but their defense was great. 3 sacks, 3 turnovers. They had a fumble return for a touchdown and an interception return for a touchdown. Whereas Michigan State, they're coming off a bye. The last game was a 28-7 loss to Penn State. 3 quarterbacks played combined, 19 of 43, 182, 2 picks. They only had 265 yards of offense. They turned it over 4 times. I'll throw that out the window. I really like Illinois this year, but in this game, I got Michigan State. I think Michigan State will turn it around there, get their offense going. Normally, they play pretty solid defense. So I'll go Michigan State there. All right, still a really big game. Another really big game in the Big Ten. Iowa and Wisconsin, both 6-2, both 3-2 in the Big Ten. They're trying to chase surprise Minnesota there. Whereas Iowa's, both teams are coming off byes. Iowa's last game though was a 20-0 win over Northwestern. Nate Stanley wasn't great. 12 of 26, 179 and a touchdown. It was really their defense. They had 5 sacks and only allowed 202 yards to a bad Northwestern team this year. Whereas Wisconsin, they got killed by Ohio State 30-7. They only had 191 yards. They turned over twice. Their defense did have 5 sacks. They should be able to do that against Nate Stanley. I'm going to go Wisconsin this. I think they'll put that Ohio State game out the window. Both defenses are still really, really good. This will be a slugfest. This might be like a 17-13, 19-17. I don't know, some kind of game like that. I think Jonathan Taylor for Wisconsin will keep it on the ground, keep it going. He'll probably get 100 yards. Iowa's defense is tough, but he should at least get 100 yards. So I'm going to get Wisconsin in a pretty low-scoring battle there. All right, New Mexico State taking on the Ole Miss Rebels. New Mexico State coming off a bye. The last game was a 41-7 loss to Georgia Southern. Josh Atkins, he only had 59 passing yards, 2 picks. They ran for 209 though. Jason Huntley ran for 133 and a touchdown. Their defense did force 3 turnovers, but their offense had 3 turnovers. If they want a shot against Ole Miss, they got to force some turnovers. Ole Miss, they lost a close game to Auburn 20-14. They had their shots at the end. They had 2 quarterbacks played, combining 14 of 27, 99 yards and a pick. Not great, but they ran it for 167 yards. John Rice Plumlee, their quarterback, he's a good runner. I don't think this will be really close. I think Ole Miss should win. All right, big shootout game in CUSA, North Texas and Louisiana Tech. North Texas 4-5. Louisiana Tech is 7-1. North Texas trying to keep their bowl hopes alive. They're having a down year compared to what they thought they would. However, North Texas, they killed UTEP 52-26. Mason finding 332 passing yards, 7 touchdown passes in that game. They put up 476 as a team. Defense had 4 sacks. Whereas Louisiana Tech, they had a bye. Coincidentally, they also played UTEP their last game. They beat them 42-21. Jamar Smith, 29 of 35, 338, 3 touchdowns. They put up 490 yards. Their defense also had 4 sacks and 3 turnovers against UTEP. I expect this to be a pretty high-scoring game. I like North Texas, but I'm gonna go Louisiana Tech here. I just think Louisiana Tech's playing better overall football this year. North Texas, they've lost a couple of games late that they couldn't quite hold on to, and this could be another one of them. I mean, this game could go down to like 59-56 kind of game. It should be pretty high-scoring. All right, you got a big game in the Sun Belt. Georgia State, one of the surprise teams in college football. They're 6-2. They're bowl eligible already against Louisiana Monroe, 3-5, trying to get back to bowl eligibility. Georgia State, they're coming off a bye. Their last game was a 52-33 win over Troy. Dan Ellington, 189 passing, 2 touchdowns. Plus, he ran for 2 touchdowns. Trey Barnett ran for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seth Page ran for 109 and a touchdown. They put up 579 yards of offense. Their defense did have 4 sacks, but they gave up 517 yards. And that's significant because Louisiana Monroe has a good offense. They got a good quarterback in Caleb Evans. They put up yards and points against a lot of teams this year. Yeah, they've lost 5 of them, but they've given almost everybody, a run. Like, they played a good Arkansas State team. They lost 48-41. They still put up 41 points. Caleb Evans had 215 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and he ran for 148 yards and 3 touchdowns. They ran for 233. Defense had 4 sacks. I expect this to be a shootout. That being said, Georgia State has looked good all year. Louisiana Monroe has found ways to lose, and I kind of expect that to keep going. I got Georgia State, again, another high-scoring affair here. All right, the Shula Bowl, Florida International and the Florida Atlantic Owls. Florida Atlantic is 6-3. They're bowl eligible. Florida International is 1 game away at 5-4, trying to get there. FIU coming off a 24-17 win over Old Dominion. James Morgan, 252 passing, plus he ran for a touchdown. Shamar Thornton, 6 catches, 125. Defense had 3 sacks and 2 turnovers in that game. Florida Atlantic, a bounce back from last year where they only went 5-7. They had a huge win over against a really good Western Kentucky team last week. They beat them 35-24. Robinson threw for 208 and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 189. Defense forced 4 turnovers in that game and had a fumble return for a touchdown. I'm going to go Florida Atlantic here. It should be a good rivalry game. Florida National is solid. They just kind of been inconsistent. They've beaten pretty much the teams they should beat, quote unquote, and have lost to the better teams. And Florida Atlantic is a really, really good CUSA team this year. They're 4-1 in this CUSA, trying to get back to the CUSA championship game. I'm going to go Florida Atlantic here. And honestly, if it were anybody else, if it were another team other than Florida International, and with the same record, and if Florida International played the same but they were a Texas team or whatever, I would go Florida Atlantic big, just because of based on what I've seen Florida International do or not do as well. But because it's a rivalry, that's the one where you throw all that pass out the window. So I think it might be closer than most people expect. Florida Atlantic is picked by 10.5. It's probably about what I would say will be the win for Florida Atlantic. All right, pretty big game in the SEC. Missouri is 5-3. Georgia is 7-1. A possible upset here, maybe, if Kelly Bryant plays really well for Missouri. I'm not sure. Missouri's coming off a bye. They got killed by Kentucky 29-7. 2 quarterbacks played, combining 14-29, 164 and a touchdown. They only had 289 yards. Defense forced 2 turnovers. Georgia's coming off a big win against Florida, 24-17. Drake Fromm, 279 passing, 2 touchdowns. Lawrence Cager, 7 catches, 132 and a touchdown. Georgia's still kind of not. Yeah, they beat Florida. Sure, it was a nice win, but they're still kind of inconsistent. I mean, if Missouri comes out swinging, this Missouri can upset Georgia. I think Georgia is definitely an upset alert. It says Georgia by 17. I'm not sure about that, but I do think Georgia will end up with the victory in the end. All right, Washington State and Cal, both teams kind of started out really well this year. Now they're just trying to fight for bowl eligibility. Both teams are 4-4. Washington State's coming off of a bye. Both teams coming off byes, actually. Washington State did give Oregon all they could handle. They lost at the last second, 37-35. Anthony Gordon, 406 passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Brandon Arconado, 9 catches, 130, 2 touchdowns. Defense had 3 sacks. Cal, they lost their last game 35-0 to Utah. They only had 83 yards of offense. I think Washington State should win. Cal's got a really good defense, but Washington State's offense, I think, will be too much, and Cal is pretty terrible on offense. This may not be close. I'm going to go Washington State pretty big. Utah State Fresno, another really big one in the Mountain West. Both teams are 4-4 in trying to get to bowl eligibility and maybe to the Mountain West Championship game. Utah State got killed, though, by BYU 42-14. Jordan Love, good yardage, 394 and a touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions. Jordan Nathan, 7 catches, 133. They actually put up 521 yards of offense, but they turned over 5 times in that game. Defense forced 3 turnovers, but they gave up 639 yards of offense. Fresno went to Hawaii and had a really big win over there, 41-38. Jorge Reyna, 188 passing and a touchdown, plus 96 rushing yards. Ronnie Rivers ran for 103 and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 290 as a team. They also had 514 yards, but they turned it over twice, and they gave up 555. This probably will be a shootout game. I don't know. For Utah State, hasn't been playing very well. I really like Jordan Love. Normally he can put up. He put up the yards. He just turned it over too much. Fresno is very weird. Fresno is a solid overall team. I don't know. Based on what I've seen lately, I'll go Fresno. I think Fresno might be gearing up for a chance in the Mountain West title game, maybe. All right, and the last one of these midday games, and actually pretty big. Appalachian State from the Sun Belt, 7-1 against South Carolina, 4-5. South Carolina better be careful. App State, yeah, they were upset by Georgia Southern, 24-21. Zach Thomas, though, threw 271 and 3 touchdowns. They put up 423 yards of offense in that game. Where South Carolina beat Vanderbilt 24-7. Ryan Helinski passed for 235 to 2 touchdowns. Fenwick ran for 102. They ran for 205 as a team. Brian Edwards had 14 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown. Their defense only gave up 189, but App State's offense is much better than Vanderbilt's. And Appalachian State's defense is really, really good too. They were able to slow down Georgia Southern pretty decently in that game. I really want to go Appalachian State here. Oh man, that's Appalachian State did beat North Carolina earlier this year as well. God, gee man. All right, I'll go South Carolina here, but they better be an upset alert. I think App State might actually really do it. All right, those are my picks for my midday games. Just chalk out one more for this week. My primetime games. Peace.